Hello, this is National Chess Master RRats at chess.com, continuing my video series on the correspondence team match between my video lessons group and the team CARPE DIEM. This was played on board 121. Our man is Tyost, high 1600s versus high 1500s A77. I thought the game was pretty well played for one where they're obviously moving very quick. They managed to get 64 moves in. I don't know when it ended. Each player won a game, so I didn't start going over to get the games with 101 scores until just yesterday. So it seems to me that Black gets the upper hand in this out of this opening, but just can't do anything with it. Okay, so here we've seen several games with the Slav defense where already where White wasn't playing A4, but here he knows the line, and if you've been following this, you saw how Black was getting easy games aside from that. And I don't know theory. That's up to you guys. But it seems that White does okay here, at least for now. But he starts getting some structural problems, and we'll see what they are in a little bit. Okay. No main weakness yet for White. The weakness is going to come on E4. Okay, well, we'll see how that transpires here in a little bit. Now, here I'm always condemning these rook pawn moves, but I'm not going to do so in this case. This provides a sanctuary for the bishop, and White now tries to drive it back, although it does weaken his king side a little bit. And here comes the point where E4 slips away from White's grasp. Black now pretty much is going to control it, but not quite yet. And for now, White's occupying it, but things will change here. And they just do a little bit of maneuvering around with their minor pieces. And now, one thing I don't like about the White queenside pawns is they're immobilized. He can't do anything with them. Black has potential B5 breaks, although it weakens C6. Black also has potential C5 breaks, but certainly not now. White's crawling all over that square. I think the game's basically about even. But here, Black had gone and preserved his bishop. Now he jettisons it, and he's doing it for control of E4, and I think he did a nice job here. So he gets his bishop pair right back, and then Black plunks his queen down on D5, nice central location. White trades it, and suddenly Black controls E4. And this bishop is very ugly. Probably what White should do is think about trying to get this traded off at the soonest chance. But he's got to cover G4 first, so he does that. And now knight E4 occupying that outpost. And now bishop A3. Now, since White has such a bad minor piece, that bishop is not doing him much good here. We'll see what happens. White should trade it off right now, but he doesn't, and I think this gives Black a golden opportunity to just keep his bishop on the board. The bishop can go to D8, and from D8 it might get to B6 later. It could just park itself on C7 and watch the game, or bring it to F6 and maybe consider liquidating it. Then the Black knight on E4 is simply unassailable. That's a permanent pain in White's side, and I don't think Black's any worse for wear if he does this. But I think, whoops, he doesn't do that. He plays knight D2, and this just turns out to be a waste, because it looks like it's forking a knight and a pawn, but White goes and attacks the knight, and Black realizes to his horror, if he takes on B3, he's going to get his knight trapped. It won't find its way out of there. So he just comes back where he started, and now the bishops are traded off. But one problem with F6 was this just weakened E6, and this is going to start to give White some counterplay, as we will see. Black didn't have to do this. Even though he's got that great knight on E4, he's weakened E6, and now White's going to access that square and have reasonable counter chances. And, they're not making bad moves. It's kind of hard to suggest a plan. I think the game is pretty much even. But the fact that white now gets a knight into e6, I think, gives white an even game. See, there it is. And there's really not much going on. Black might have generated something trying to attack this pawn on f5. It gives white all kinds of chances to go wrong. Like, for instance, h5 is met by... No, wait, not h5 right away. I got it backward. King f4 is met by h5. Okay, I knew somebody was playing h5. I was looking at this. And maybe this knight gets to be a little bit in trouble here. See, where's this knight going to go? Well, it's only got one square here. And this pawn is kind of weak, and I think black can collect it. And, I don't know. It's just a possible line. But I think the game is still pretty much even. But because white's got that knight on e6 now, white's starting to slowly but surely get the better of things. And he doesn't play knight d6. He took on f5. And now offers some rook trades. And we're going to see a horrible double blunder right here. This move is terrible. And white goes after a pawn and just doesn't analyze. Pause the video, see if you can find a good continuation for white. Okay, you've resumed. Did you consider rook g8 check? Okay, it's not a hard move to see. We always consider checks, captures, and threats. What's the king going to do? Well, he's got to move. You can't block the check. You can't take the rook. Take your pick. Let's try f7. Whoops. There's a checkmate. Okay. So let's try d7. Let's run out. Uh-oh. There's a checkmate there too. White could have ended the game. Instead, white wasn't paying attention. This is correspondence chess. You guys are supposed to find these moves. So black allowed it. White missed it. Most of the rest of their game was okay. F6 was questionable because it gave up e6, but black's played a pretty good game. How could he walk into this? And white missed it. So anyway, they go into a knight ending. Now, knight endings are interesting. How do you evaluate a knight ending? I've had this question asked, and I've explained it on a few videos. If you haven't seen them, you won't know, unless you already know. And if you've seen where I've explained it, you can give me the answer. Okay, the general rule, and it's not 100% true, but the general rule is, imagine the knight's off the board, and that you're in a king and pawn ending. Now, who wins the king and pawn ending? If you can determine who wins the king and pawn ending, you can tell who's going to win the knight and pawn ending. Now, like I say, that's not 100% certain. There'll be certain cases. One side will have an outside pass pawn that he can't make progress with in a knight and pawn ending, but he could in a king and pawn ending. And other possible exceptions. But the knights can move around here, and there's definitely a lot of pawn weaknesses. Let's see. b7, f6, h6 are all weak. b3, e3, f5, and h4 are all weak. So they both have about 4 weak pawns. And for the moment, black's in check and has to get out of check. So let's see how it progresses. Now the knight goes back, and white has the threat. Knight d8 check, followed by picking up a pawn. So black goes and gives a check and picks up a pawn. Now, for the moment, black's a pawn ahead, but that's just for the moment. It's white's turn. And now white regains his pawn. So now we can ask the question, maybe it's a little clearer. Who wins this king and pawn ending? Well, I'm kind of thinking it's a draw if it's a king and pawn ending. White doesn't have any entry points on the queen side with his king. The only entry point is h5. Conversely, black doesn't have any entry points anywhere. So the fact that white has an entry point gives him a slight advantage, but I don't think it's enough to win. Because black can just, if you take the knights off the board, black can just shuffle his king back and forth from h7 to g7. However, there's one exception. What if white gets e4 in? Will that change anything? Well, if black lets it sit and white takes on d5, I don't think it'll change a thing. But what happens if white pushes e5? Well, all of a sudden, both sides are going to get a pair connected past pawns. And unless white can take advantage of the fact that his are a little farther advanced and get the king in where you can reach one of those positions where the pawns actually win, the game would be a draw. The pawns would just get blockaded and the game would end in a draw. So I think it's still close to a draw. But it's not going to end in a draw. White's going to win. And white should have won this game already. And at this point, black immediately throws the game away right here. His pawn is under attack, and he moves it. But unfortunately, this just loses the pawn. Now I'm going to come back to this into this position in just a minute. We'll talk about what could have happened. See, now he's getting into a lost king and pawn ending. And white just gets there first. See, we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. White is 6 moves from a queen. Black is 1, and which way you want to go? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's illustrated with the last several moves. Here we come. And see, remember I had the pawn on a6, and I had, or a3 rather, and the white queen on f or h8. Well, the queen just takes on f6. And here I don't think white played the most precise move. The most precise move is just put the queen on a1. But it doesn't matter. He can win it anyway. But here black resigned. I mean, king here is a possibility, but attempting to play king b1, trying to make a queen. But, you know, white can just trade the queen and make a new one. So white's winning. So let's go back to c5 and see if black had any other resources. Once white takes this pawn, he's probably going to collect this one. So what can black do? Well, let's try to find a plan. Let's get to c3. Okay, you can do that by way of c1. Okay, we're giving up this pawn. But now black is down a pawn. You get a check, and we're going to put the king. g4. Let's put him on g4. Now, what's happening here? Once again, we can ask the rule I mentioned earlier, take the knights off the board, who's winning? Well, I think it's safe to say that if you take the knights off here, white's winning, simply because he's up a pawn. But at least black has a chance here. He didn't have a chance the way he played it. My gut instinct says white's going to win now. But black is still in the game. It's going to reach some kind of a theoretical duel where white tries to combine threats, tie black down to holding the pawn back, a passed pawn back. Probably the d4 pawn will end up becoming passed, and maintaining protection of the f and the h pawns. But at the same time, maybe black can get some counterplay against those pawns. Let's just play one line and see what happens. Okay, white doesn't want to lose his pawn on d4 or e3, and he needs to keep his king close enough to these pawns, and this knight needs a better home. Let's, for the sake of argument, try to get him to f4. And the reason I want to put him on f4 is it pressures d5, and it also maybe could threaten to go to h5, and as well as keeping an eye on e6. So I'm just picking this at random. The quickest path to f4 comes by way of e6. Let's see, how do we get him to e6? By way of d8. So let's go to c6 first. Okay, now black needs a plan. His e4 square held him true. He can get there again, it seems, so let's try for that. Okay, now black's got himself into e4, and white's trying to get to f4. And it looks like maybe this is going to be good enough for a win for white. Because, well, maybe not. Let's see. Knight has to go to c3 to guard that pawn. Now king h5. king g7. Now, how can we need this knight on g4? That's going to be a little bit of a task. Well, how do we get to g4? By way of f2. So let's go to h3. And then black goes back to e4. So this strategy, putting the knight on f4, doesn't look too good. Let's try to get e4 in. Okay, that's going to be white's strategy. He wants to get e4 in. To get e4 in, he needs the king on f4, and he needs the knight maybe on d6. So let's try to get the knight to d6. And that'll keep the black knight out of e4. So let's see. Let's try to get to e4, but we'll stop that. Okay. Now the plan is to play here. So let's see. Let's try to use the king. Maybe we're going to chase him out. Can't play e4 here. Where are you going to put the knight? Back on b7, and now the knight comes here. You know, maybe black has some drawing chances. Although knight c5, I don't think white can afford to, or black can afford to take. Maybe he's finally going to get d4 in. Let's see. Okay, take. Now, where are you going to have this knight go? You don't want him too passive. Let's go here. Now d5. And, you know, white gets to play this for a win. I'm sure it's in the endgame anthologies, but white has all the fun and black has to sit there and play defense for another 20-30 moves. Not an enviable task, but you know, theoretically black could have some drawing chances here. He needs to try to attack that pawn on h4, and I don't see exactly how he gets there now. You know, he's got to get to g2 to attack it pretty much, meaning he's got to get to e1 to d3 to b4. So it's a long way off, and white gets a lot of moves to do things in the meantime. So anyway, it would have been a fun ending to watch. The players didn't get this far, but theoretically they could have if he had not realized he was going to drop a pawn immediately. But white has himself to blame too, because he missed a mate in 2. All right, thanks so much for your time. I'll be back soon with another video. Take care.